Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for waiting and welcome to Equine Episode Examination, where today we will be discussing Top Bolt, this past weekend's new MLP episode. So if this is your first time watching or joining us here, pretty much we record this live, usually here on Tuesdays on CinemaQuestria.com if you ever want to join in the chat. We're just going to go ahead and discuss the this past weekend's episode, give our opinions on it, kind of start more general and work into more specific areas of the episode, and just kind of analyze a little bit and talk about it with us here in the voice call and in the chat. A few quick housekeeping kind of things to get just to get it out of the way now before I forget, because after we are done discussing all of this, I will probably forget by the end potentially. So next couple weeks we're gonna have to change up the schedule a little bit for Triple E, just due to some scheduling conflicts with a few different things on my end. So next week we will be obviously discussing the season finale, which premieres this week on Discovery Family here in the U.S. So that will be premiering this weekend. We will be discussing that next week, but we will be discussing it on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It'll probably go on quite a bit longer because the finales and premieres usually do, since it's a double episode. But we will be discussing that on Wednesday next week at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time instead of Tuesday. The same is going to hold true for the following week. The following week after that, we will be having our Season 6 wrap-up, Triple E. We'll be discussing the second half of Season 6, and as well as just kind of the season as a whole, to follow up our Part 1 discussion and the mid-season hiatus. That will also be on Wednesday at 5 p.m. that following week instead of Tuesday. So the next 2 weeks, we will be having it on Triple E on Wednesday to start off kind of like the Wednesday wildcard thing at 5 p.m. And that will be followed by our normal wildcard stuff whenever we wind up finishing those 2 weeks. All right, those 2 episodes, I should say. So just get it out of the way first, just so we don't forget. And yeah, so I'm Rain Shadow, by the way, and I think we got a couple people in call here as I scroll back to it. If everyone wants to introduce themselves.
I'm Jay Smith.
I had a really, really nasty cough when I opened the call.
Ooh. You sound better though.
Yeah, it's just it was a tickle.
It was a happy cough.
Hopefully.
Happy little cough.
No, I don't know if Bob Ross could draw coughs.
Eager try. So, yeah, you didn't miss anything. We just introduced. All you missed is next 2 weeks. Triple E will be on Wednesday instead of Tuesday because stuff. So, I'm
just wondering. Well, I can't think. Does it mean that we have wild card Tuesdays? But that doesn't.
No.
We can't. That's not alliteration. Can we just call it Trampy Tuesdays?
No, we'll still have the wild card Wednesdays when we're done. Trampy Tuesdays. Try. It'll be like the fuck is going on Tuesdays. Perfect.
It's not like most days, though.
This is true. So yeah, Top Bolt. What's everyone's initial thoughts on this episode?
I wish I had an OC as ridiculously cute as Angel Wings.
You just make Fluttershy jealous then.
But no, yeah, I mean, it's funny that this episode obviously got tremendously overshadowed by the fact that the finale was aired like before this in the UK, which is it's a real shame.
Thanks, Tiny Pop.
That now it is Tiny Poop.
Tiny Poop.
Tiny Poop.
I'm sorry, I'm never gonna not call them that.
Does that mean you just call their normal channel just Big Poop?
It's just normal poop.
Anyway,
if they have an if they had an adults channel, it would be called Big Poop.
Where was I?
Something about it being overshadowed, and also the OC. I don't
It's
know
a
which
shame.
one.
It is. Sorry, yeah. Let me start again. It is a shame that this episode has been overshadowed in that regard, though, because I genuinely think this is a very good episode and definitely one of the better map episodes. Because the thing is with the map episodes, in some regards, they're not that much different to Friends Forever with the IDW comics, where obviously they basically get two of the characters together to do an episode slash issue of the comics. Or obviously the difference with Friends Forever is that they mix up a lot of different characters that aren't just the main six. Obviously with the map episodes so far, they have just been, Twilight, Fluttershy, Applejack, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, or Pinkie Pie. And hopefully we might see it being extended out to a few other characters. Maybe have Spike in a map episode. I can't see why not, to be honest. But anyway, as far as map episodes go, I think this is definitely one of the stronger ones. And it's nice to see Rainbow Dash and Twilight Sparkle together, because you don't see them together too much. Not a huge amount. I mean, I think the most we've sort of seen them together in recent times is where basically she's been trying to teach Twilight to fly, basically.
Yeah, I think of a lot of the combinations we've seen so far. I think we've seen the most of these two together. Like compared to the other map episodes, I think we've had more episodes with Twilight and Rainbow Dash than most of the others, simply because of Twilight, and especially in the first season where Twilight was being paired up with everyone as she was getting to know them. And then we had the testing 1 2 3
needed in as well.
Yeah, and then we had testing 1 2 3. But even then, it in this show up until the map, it was very rare for us to have an episode that focused on just two of the characters, with most of the other characters not being involved at all. Regardless, so we kind of had one with them already, and with testing 1 2 3, and a few other ones where they might because it's Twilight. But yeah, it's one of the reasons why I like the map episodes so much is just because it allows it just forces them to focus on just kind of two of the main six, and kind of how they work together. And so far, this season and last season, we've had some pretty cool combinations of characters that we don't really get to see interact directly with each other that much.
I'm going to be honest, I was a bit apprehensive with this episode. I always have been with Wonderbolt's episodes ever since basically Rainbow Falls. Now, my dislike of that episode is pretty well known now, and it's personal preference. It's almost all down to that. The actual episode itself, in terms of the actual way it's presented, this is Rainbow Falls I'm talking about, is fine. It's just the message in it rubs me up the wrong way, something chronic, and I do not like the way the Wonderbolts are presented in that. This episode, I actually kind of sort of like Spitfire in this, and that's the first time I think I can ever say that in the show, and that's saying a lot, because I've just never liked her characterization. I didn't like her in Wonderbolt's Academy all that much. I definitely didn't like her in Rainbow Falls. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you can even make me semi-like Spitfire in an episode, you're doing well, because it's been a tough sell to me, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, obviously she was not the main focus. The main focus was obviously the two ponies that needed the help. Why can I not remember anything?
Well, from this episode,
yeah, the two
Sky Stinger and Vapor Trail.
That's it. Thank you.
The only reason I remember that is because I wrote it about 50 times in the descriptions for my score rips.
but yeah, Vapor Trail is cute. I'm gonna have to be honest. but she's no Fluttershy.
Of course. I have to echo kind of Matt's sentiment. I really, really enjoyed this episode, and I got a chance to watch it a second, or I guess technically a third time, but the second time actually paying attention to the episode itself at work today, because I hadn't had time before then, and I really enjoyed it the second time as well. It's really well put together, and really just enjoyable to watch Twilight and Rainbow Dash's character interactions and how they help. and
It's
just
an interesting conflict as well. It's one that
yeah.
we've not seen in the show before. It's definitely, it's the case of sometimes when you're helping someone, you're basically covering up a person's weaknesses, and while that's, in some regards that's a good thing, when you've got to branch out on your own, that's, it's going to be a lot more tricky for yourself, really.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's just jump in to the story and the writing. This episode was, to my surprise, but a good surprise. It was written by Joanne Lewis and Christine Sonko, which is their second episode of the season. They had another episode at the beginning of the season. So I guess you can technically call it Spike's map episode because his butt glowed in it. Gauntlet of Fire, which is another great one of the other great episodes. So they're 2 for 2 in terms of my opinion, in terms of just amazing, good episodes. I wasn't sure if they'd have another one this season, simply because when we found out they were writing the Equestria Girls movie, I wasn't sure if they would have written another one. But it's nice that they snuck another one here at the end. And as well as them, Megan McCarthy got another story credit for it, past just like last week. So contributing to this some of the story of the original story of this as well.
Yeah, Megan's contribution was, "Hey, you lady writers, write a scene where we get the most dopey face from Twilight Sparkle ever."
It was in the script. Twilight makes a dopey face.
Twilight makes shit-eating grins be ashamed of being shit-eating grins.
Oh gosh. So yeah, what about the story and this episode's writing? Yeah, I have to agree. I think it was paced well. I at no point did it feel like anything was they gave each part of the story enough time to flesh itself out, from the introduction to the sort of introducing the problem, then solving it. It was all nicely paced.
But I think the maps now have kind of got some kind of rhythm and a pace to them. Obviously, we get the conflicts that. But obviously, the very first thing in a map episode is obviously we have to have Twilight complain that she's been not called. Oh, sorry, yes, she was called by the map this time, so she was happy. But yeah, we obviously find out where we're going, and obviously we get a nice little joke where we've just been Rainbow going. I've just been to Cloudsdale. Now we've got to go back. And but yeah, so we get the setup of obviously where we're going, and then we get an idea of what the conflict is, and then we have obviously sort of some of the resolutions that are tried sometimes fail, or there's other reasons why they're not doing so well, and then obviously there's the resolution. And you can say, oh, it makes the map episodes formulaic, and to a degree that's right, but to another degree you could say that about nearly any episode of the show.
I mean,
so,
really, the map is just kind of following normal story of like any story plot ever. It introduces the problem and then it's resolved in the. I mean, you can't. If that's formulaic, then every story on Earth is formulaic, because it's just.
Yeah.
It just introduces the problem, sends them somewhere, and then it resolves.
It's a nice convenient way of having some of these conflicts, and it basically it exists purely from the standpoint of being able to bring two characters together that you may not necessarily have together. And while it's a little bit, you could say it's slightly contrived. I think by now it's kind of a case of I want to see these characters together. Yeah. It doesn't really bother me how they get them together, as long as they are together, because they work. The main six just bounce off each other in different combinations and settings and groups so well. It doesn't really bother me how they get together. It's not the how that really bothers me now. It's more sort of the execution. And in this episode, I think the story is very, very well done, and I don't think there's really been a bad new character in this season. I can't think of any new character that's been brought into this season that I've either not liked or at least found amusing or entertaining in some way. So, that's mad props, because that's not an easy thing to do, especially on a show that's as established as this one now.
It's like with the maps, it's Yeah, I mean, you can call it contrived, but the thing is, it's introducing a way for them to have these friendship problems. That if we're gonna go to this friendship prom at the academy or any of these other places, it's kind of introducing three things: a way to introduce friendship problems, a way to introduce new places, and a way to get two of the main six together to solve the problem. And really, yeah, you could do that without the map, but you're gonna have to come up with some other contrived reason for them to go to that place and to find the friendship problem, and for only those two characters to be able, find a reason for only those two characters, and why those two characters, why aren't other main six going? So the map, yeah, it's maybe you can call it contrived, but it's a lot less than trying to create some other reason for this to happen. At least it's something consistent. It's something that was set up and introduced throughout an entire two-parter. So it's not like it just came out of nowhere. There's a reason it's there. It was set up all the way back in the end of season 4 with Twilight's Castle. So at least it has more of a reason for this happening than just if they every episode they just have to pull some reason out of their ass why we're going to this location or why only these two characters. And I'd rather have the map where it's a little bit it's at least a little bit more, makes more sense. And I'd rather have that and have these kind of episodes than not have these kind of episodes at all.
One sort of, there are a few sort of little things, little details. Obviously, now that Rainbow is actually now a fully fledged member of the Wonderbolt, she now commands the kind of aura that obviously her heroes, other members of the team and that have. That it's interesting how we know how much of an ego Rainbow has by now. It's interesting that she doesn't seem to take that too much. She seems to take that bit kind of really in her stride now, and that's good. I think she's got a little more humility than she probably had than when she first came out. She was like to be honest, she was a bit of a cocky little shit at times. But I think. Obviously the experiences she's had, I think have obviously, mellowed her a little, not massively, but, we kind of love her for it regardless of it.
Yeah. I mean, not just that, it was, I really did like that they had that part of the episode where the new recruits knew who Rainbow Dash was and were excited to see her like she was some kind of star. I mean, not just because she's a Wonderbolt, but also because, everything she's done with the main six. It was nice to see that her have that recognition from those recruits, like she was someone special, which she is.
Oh yeah, and Twilight was there too. But I think that the epitome of that is just that picture of Rainbow in the frame with obviously in her Wonderbolt costume with just that smug smile on her face. It's just fantastic.
I also liked on that similar note, I did like the beginning of the episode, how we start out with Rainbow already at the academy. I mean, it's setting up for that that kind of beginning and ending joke of her keep getting called back there. But it was nice to see, because let me put it this way, because if we didn't have that at the beginning and she was somewhere else, or we just started at the castle, yeah, we'd be going back to the Wonderbolts, but we'd only be going back there because the map called them there. It was nice to see her there, even if it was just for a brief moment, to see that, yeah, she is a Wonderbolt now, and yeah, she is doing stuff with the Wonderbolts and practicing and training with them and whatnot, and hanging out with them in the locker room. So it was just good to see a nice continuation from her previous episode that yeah, she's still doing stuff with the Wonderbolts, and we're not just having her called back there like she hasn't been there since the last episode or anything.
Can we officially confirm that the map is just a massive troll, or it's being controlled by Discord? If it's not trolling Twilight by not picking her, it's trolling Rainbow Dash for making her go back to exactly where she's come from.
It waited. It could have done that when she, at some other time, but no, it waited till after she left on her way home, yeah. Just to rub it in more. Just got back from
the academy just as the new cadets are coming in for Spitfire to enjoy blowing her whistle at, which we now learn that she enjoys being kind of bossy.
Well, I mean, you gotta have some, gotta have some enjoyment in your work if you're,
Well, she does say she loves her job, so.
Yep. Um, we kind of mentioned this before, but yeah, I did Tim mentioned this in chat before, but the actual the friendship problem itself in the episode was I think a really good one, and probably one of the better things that we've encountered in a map episode. Because like Tim said, it's kind of nuanced. It's a little bit more complicated kind of thing. It isn't like Who Fields and McCults where there's two families fighting each other, or and the Viva Las Pegasus episode where it's this guy being manipulative and causing all these people to argue with each other or anything like that. Here the friendship problem is something that you don't even realize at first, that there's a friendship problem going on here. Like everything would seem to be okay on the surface. That here's Sky and Vapor, and they're obviously really good friends and have known each other for a while. Helping each other out. Sky's really cocky and stuff, but he's friendly to Vapor, and nothing seems to be wrong. And it takes them to really have Rainbow Dash have like a really keen eye into what's going on there to kind of to pinpoint the problem and see what the issue was in terms of Vapor boosting Sky, and then him not knowing it and just thinking he's some great flyer. So it wasn't quite as much of like an in your face, like there's obviously a friendship problem here, like we've had in a lot of the previous map episodes.
Sort of leading on to that, it is an interesting. It's definitely a predicament that we've seen sort of a similar kind of a deal, perhaps between Rainbow and Fluttershy, but it wasn't as nuanced as it was here. It's definitely something where you've got someone that's got a strength in something, and then they sort of have like the they feel that their ability is quite strong, and that they're kind of carrying someone, but they don't quite kind of realize that they are being carried equally as much, if not more so.
Yeah.
It's a case of showing that teamwork is a good thing, but it's not always going to carry you through, which it's a funny one, because when you're a kid, what's one of the key things that you're taught when you're quite young? You're taught that working in groups, working together as a team is a good thing, and that it's going to help you in life. But as you get older, I think you realise that you need to be able to do things yourself and force yourself along, because sometimes other people aren't going to do it for you, or other people are not always going to be there for you. And I think I think it's a very strong lesson that this episode gives in that regard. And I think it's nice to see that we're still seeing new lessons that are coming, and not just like a spin on a lesson that we've already had in the show. And that's not an easy thing to do. Like you say, when there's been over 100 episodes of the show, it's not always easy to have a completely new lesson to be able to have. A lot of people mark the show down or an episode down now, but because it's we've already learned something like this before. It's like, well, this might be the first episode that anyone's ever watched of the show, and B, once you've been on the air this long, it's going to get increasingly difficult to be able to have completely brand new lessons.
And I don't think we've had any episodes that have completely repeated a lesson. It might be kind of similar in the end, but how you get there is different.
Ones. Yeah. But I mean that's the way that they're going to be able to do that. In future episodes as well. If it's something that's got a similar sort of a lesson,
and that's something else that is really good about the map, things like the map and Starlight and stuff like that, is because they're able to do some of these lessons where these friendship lessons where they just wouldn't really work with the main six anymore, just because of how well they know each other and how long they've been together in the show and how much they've learned. And so things like the map, finding other people with friendship problems, or introducing Starlight Glimmer allows them to do some of these friendship lessons that we haven't had yet, but wouldn't really fit necessarily, or it'd be hard to fit or make sense for the main six to learn.
I still think that now that they've got their cutie marks, I honestly hope we see perhaps a map episode of the CMC. That would be quite interesting for me. And bring Gabby along as well. You could have a bag vibrate or something.
I'm trying to think. I had a thought. I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this episode and this more has to do with, kind of friendship is a two-way street, and it's not just a lot of times you say that and it's when friends aren't getting along, but here it really was they were getting along fine, but it was still kind of just a one-way thing where with Vapor helping Sky on that and not giving herself any credit. I really like how they kind of split up the two of them and made their relationship sort of symbiotic, and how that came together in the end. So I mean, at the beginning, it's just Sky's Vapor's content with helping Sky because of the reasons she gave in her flashback, and that was all fine. But then she kind of realizes that she wants to be a Wonderbolt as well. And so when we get to the end, we have Vapor giving tips and support to Sky in terms of becoming a stronger flyer. But Vapor, even though she's shown to have strong wings and be a strong flyer, and that's why she's able to support Sky, she never really focused on developing any sort of flying skills like Sky has been able to. So we see him at the end helping her out. Do the tricks and flips and stuff like that he's always been able to do. So it was kind of it was nice to see it becoming that two-way friendship street of them both helping each other out in the end. And it was nice seeing that develop.
The most interesting thing is that you mentioned that at the very beginning of the episode, they seem to be, pretty good friends. And I think, they genuinely were. It's interesting that it's only when like the sort of the strings were being pulled by Twilight and Rainbow that the cracks started to appear, and the friendship sort of started to break down a bit.
Yeah,
and it's interesting that's I think that is a first for the show, where it's sort of and you say it's sort of on the surface. I think even below the surface they were good friends.
Yeah,
They just realized
they were both content with this.
They were overly reliant on each other, though.
Yeah,
I think that was the key thing here. I mean, it's interesting that pulling on those strings, and you kind of sort of felt a little. I mean, let me honest, I felt a little sorry for them, to be honest, that this was sort of happening to them. But I think it's a case of you've got to sort of have the tough times to make things to make things better for yourself, basically.
Yeah, I mean, this episode really had like kind of an emotional in terms of it, where a lot of episodes, like especially the map episodes, like I said, we'll get in there and the problem's already there, and the whole episode is just de-escalating that problem. But here, like you said, we're starting out and everything really seems fine. I mean, they're content with this deep down. They're fine with this until this problem of this individual flying part of the trials comes up. And so it isn't until Rainbow and Twilight start getting involved that things start really going downhill, and we kind of make this going down. And then they have to resolve it in the end, and they get back up to the good part. But it was kind of a nice little roller coaster of it there after the Twilight and Rainbow get involved in the situation and trying to help.
As the Messiah's Chumbawamba once said, they got knocked down, but they got up again. only to get knocked back down again.
And I really think one of my favorite parts of the episode was not just that little conflict that we have with Sky and Vapor, but the conflict of maybe conflict is a little bit too strong of a word, but between Twilight and Rainbow Dash in terms of how are we going to solve it, with Twilight saying, no, we've got to tell them so they can, they're not going to be able to improve if we don't tell them. And then Rainbow taking the thing of saying, well, no, if we tell them, Sky's going to not have that confidence anymore. They're going to lose their confidence. And that was, it's better to try and help them without informing them. And then pretty much kind of in the end, both of their plans didn't work, but at the same time, both of their plans were sort of the solution after it. So because they tried both of their plans, and after they tried both of their plans, they just wind up making things so much worse. But in the end, both of their plans were also kind of the solution once they regrouped and got them together and kind of forced them to, to make up and try and try and work things out and work together.
Can Twilight be any more adorable? I don't know if it's possible. I think she's already broken the adorable scale. I mean, I just love the fact that it's like, oh, we got to go in the classroom. Classroom? It's saying classroom to him has almost given her as much of a wing boner as when you mention books.
Classroom portion?
A classroom about books? She might explode.
I really did like the callback saying like, oh, I know exactly how to teach here because I still have all this, all this stuff I read from when I was learning to fly. Pretty funny. Twilight of all people teaching everything to try.
Why do I imagine that if Twilight hadn't become the princess of friendship, she would have just ended up being a school principal?
Because she's following in Celestia's footsteps. That's why. But yeah,
what,
I mean,
she's gonna get captured very easily at the end of every season and be hardly seen at all in the show. Is that what you're saying?
That's season 7. Once Starlight takes over, everyone's fears coming to life. But yeah, I think just like all these map episodes, they do a great job of making both of the characters that were called important to it. So like there was a reason why the map called those specific characters. Like for example, like I mentioned before, everything seemed fine on the surface. There didn't seem to be any friendship problems there. Sky and Vapor seemed to be getting along fine. If it wasn't for Rainbow Dash, being very astute in her, observations of their flying and noticing how much Sky was helping Vapor throughout it, they wouldn't have never found that out. Twilight wouldn't have seen that. She completely missed that. It took Rainbow pointing that out in order to see that.
I wonder if I know it's not mentioned, but I wonder if because they've helped like with Fluttershy with like she's helped her with. I'm sure she's helped her with like an updraft in the previous episode. I might be wrong. I'm sure there is an episode where she's helped her with that. I wonder if something like or even having a friend like Fluttershy, she can kind of see that sometimes she was perhaps overbearing in that kind of relationship. She was sort of trying to help Fluttershy, but perhaps a little too much. I mean, that would be quite an interesting thing to actually see, perhaps in an actual future episode, maybe. I think obviously the astuteness of Rainbow is just simply from the fact that she's obviously been flying all her life, whereas M.A. Larson plastered some wings onto Twilight, so she's obviously not got the experience. Thanks, M.A. Larson.
Yeah, this episode had a lot of great continuity in it too. Like just right down to Spitfire's speech pulled directly out of Wonderbolt's Academy. There, what was a nice touch. It was I think that based on seeing what reading their tweets and stuff and with them, I think Joanna Lewis and Christine Songo probably watched the series before they were writing for it. But no matter what, they definitely at least went back and rewatched Wonderbolt's Academy before this one, because all the stuff from that episode was in here, which is start Spitfire speech, the Dizatron, all that stuff was mirrored here so perfectly. It was nice seeing it again with some newer recruits and seeing Rainbow Dash on the other end of the aisle there.
So what I mentioned earlier on that I didn't particularly like or particularly cared for Spitfire and Wonderbolt's Academy, I still think Wonderbolt's Academy is an excellent episode. I still stand by my point that I think it should have not been changed like it was that episode, but it's a minor nitpick really, and it's definitely I think one of Meriwether Williams's best episodes of the show, along with Bats.
What did you mean changed?
The ending was changed slightly from Wonderbolt's Academy, I believe.
Oh, I've never heard of that before. So that's what was it?
Yeah,
from?
It was. I can't remember what was actually changed now. It was fairly minor, but I believe it made it a bit better. I believe it was. Oh, God. I'll have to look into it.
Okay, I guess I had never heard of it before. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, it was definitely the ending was definitely changed in Wonderbolt's Academy. I do know that.
Yeah.
I kind of feel sorry for Mary Williams. She did seem to get a few things thrown her way because, you know, if it weren't for writing for episode because of, you know, personal circumstances of other writers or because the episode wasn't working at the time or something, she did get kind of a bum deal at times with this show. I'm going to be honest. I do kind of feel for her in that regard. But anyway, you know, I do like that some of these, you know, a lot of people are sort of very apprehensive whenever there's new writers on the show, but I think virtually everyone this season, you know, most of these writers have only been on the show since season 4 at the early,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean,
And
there's been some new writers in past seasons where maybe they had a little weaker first couple episodes, but I really think all the new writers on this have had at least one really strong episode.
yeah,
for
at
each of them.
least one, if not all of them strong.
Yeah, yeah. And I know a lot of people might have some preconceptions about it that may, you know, and opinions will differ, but I personally think all of the new writers they brought on this season, which is a lot because most of the episodes, the vast majority, written by people who are new this season. I think all of them did just spectacularly.
The only experienced writer this season was Dave Polsky
Yeah.
for
I mean, we've had for On Your Marks.
Yeah, On Your Marks. And honestly, I think that episode is one of the. I wouldn't say it was a bad episode, but I think
more
it's
forgettable.
One of the sort of
Yeah.
slightly less. It's slightly less memorable. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting that.
It's definitely overshadowed by the CMC's other episode.
I'm of the opinion that I think Dave Polsky is at his strongest when he writes comedy episodes, but it's not like he's not made ones that are not comedy that haven't worked.
Yeah.
But I think the one with Trouble Shoes in and this one, they're not bad episodes. They're just kind of forgettable. They're not like as memorable as some others.
And there's a few writers this season as well that were on last season, like Joanne and Christine were new last season. And they wrote some really good episodes last season. I'm glad that they got to write the Equestria Girls movie, and I hope they come back for season 7.
They did Sweet Castles.
That was their first. Yeah,
that
was a big episode. Talk about throwing things at new writers. That was quite the episode to throw at them.
By the way, you're gonna have to deal with the library being burnt down. Good luck with that.
Well, the fallout of that. Good luck. Everyone's gonna hate you. No, but I mean, they did great, and you know, I hope they're writing for season 7. They definitely seem to, you know, based on online, that they really enjoy writing for the show, and they definitely have the skills to.
#save Trey. Still can't believe that was a thing.
It was the best. Half the people using it sarcastically, half of them probably not.
Bit like thanks M.A. Larson then.
Yeah. Well, we aren't talking about Rainbow Falls right now. We're talking about Wonderbolts Academy and the context of this episode. And then we got sidetracked on writer discussion, but, you know, that's what happens. I think we do that almost every week. Gosh. Okay, well, what else about the story and the writing? I'm trying to think. I don't take notes. I didn't take notes again. I was going to do it last night, but I was so tired. I hate when I don't take notes because
I was busy doing site stuff. So
there's one other thing I want to mention, but I can't remember if it was in the story. I can probably let me actually hold on. Let me pull the episode up here so I can skim through it. Top bolt. Gotta love the obvious, probably the most blatant reference to Top Gun in the title of this episode that we've had in the show.
The highway to the dashing zone.
This is the first time we've actually seen.
It's better than being in the Twilight Zone.
This is one of the first map episodes in a while that we've actually seen one of the characters being called to the map. The past couple map episodes, they've already been at the map, and we kind of start the episode there.
Can't beat having your butt vibrating.
This is my favorite part. Why can't there be more friendship
To
problems?
be, yeah, exactly. I could just imagine that they're just getting like really like aroused whenever the map like sends them on a mission.
I
can
really,
imagine Rainbow being the one that enjoys it the most.
yeah. I really did like just kind of the interaction between Twilight and Rainbow in this, and how that was written, because there's just a lot of great moments with their different teaching styles that we have. But in the end, they were actually able to get a fairly good plan. It didn't really work out, but it was kind of a good plan on paper in terms of having Rainbow work on training Vapor
I do love
for that, and then having Twilight try and sneak in some book lessons in.
I do love with you mentioning the teaching styles. I just love the fact that when Twilight's obviously doing the teaching, I was expecting the joke to be that everyone was asleep while she was trying to teach, but no, it was just Rainbow. Like some things never change.
Bring out the air horn.
Oh God. Hey, you know what would have been funnier if it was a Vuvuzela?
Oh God.
Is that a Vuvuzela, or did you just sit on a whoopee cushion?
It was also a nice kind of contrast between the two new characters in terms of their backstory, with Sky being in a very big family and not being able to stand out, and Vapor being the only child and having an issue with always standing out because of that, and how that played directly into the problems they were having in this episode.
It's nice to have some of these characters have backstory.
Mm-hmm. It was also really nice. I liked how, again, just kind of playing on that, how they reacted to Rainbow Dash when she entered the academy, when Rainbow offered to give like special training to Vapor, in the middle of the episode. There, she was like legitimately excited to be training with Rainbow Dash. Oh, I mean, it's so cool. T Sparks and the Dashinator. Best names ever written in the show.
I can't believe I haven't been calling them that throughout this episode.
I know, right?
It's
their new official name.
Their names from now on are T-Spot and the Dashinator.
Big Jim said so. He said on the Twitter, you can go check it. He said, I want everyone to call them T-Sparks and Dashinator from now on 100% of the time. That's totally something he tweeted.
I think you're lying.
I don't lie. That's what he said.
Yeah. Princess T-Spark. I dig it.
Yeah, I think I can't really see anything else for the story that I want to mention.
Does anyone remember Mr. T and the T-Force cartoon show? Now we can have T-Spark and the T-Force.
Perfect.
Or T-Spark and the Pony Force.
And it has to be like the Friendship Force.
The F-Force.
The F-Force. Sounds slightly dirty. Oh God.
As if we didn't have enough analogies that we all euphemisms that we could put force into it. Let's just pour some more in.
They're just friends, just like Lyra and Bonbon. Good friends.
And T-Spark and the Dashinator.
Okay, so let's go on to the characters and the character discussion here. See, I'll be right back. I gotta get up for a second, but go ahead and start talking about characters.
Okay, so we'll start with Vapor Trail and Sky Stinger. It's interesting that Vapor is, quite sort of subdued compared to Sky. I mean, you can sort of build some kind of similarities to the relationship between Rainbow and Fluttershy in that kind of regard. I mean, obviously, Sky is considerably cockier and quite full of himself, and very, very confident, and he's and obviously Sky is a lot more mellow, a lot more. I wouldn't say she's necessarily unsure of herself so much. I think she's more unsure of what she really necessarily always wants, which is it's a subtle little difference, I think, because I think with Fluttershy she suffers with a lot of confidence issues. I don't think Vapor is unconfident. It's kind of difficult to say.
No, she's not really unconfident in herself. She just never had the reason to have confidence in herself, because she didn't want that. She just wanted to be supportive of Sky. She didn't want, because of her past, she didn't want any attention. She just wanted to help Sky out.
She wanted to hide in the background. Reminds me of a certain yellow mare.
I was half expecting that to be an Applejack joke, and I'm pleasantly surprised it wasn't. Oops.
To be fair, Applejack doesn't jump into the background. She's always perpetually there.
Oh, there it is. But it was nice seeing Vapor evolve and what she wants to do, because really the only reason she's there at the beginning is just to support Sky. She doesn't know what she wants to do in life or anything. She just knows she wants to help Sky out. But at not the end, but in the middle, as she's sort of realizing all this, she realized that she actually does enjoy this and does want to try and be part of the Wonderbolts, because she's enjoying flying, and she obviously does have talent in terms of just ability and flight power and speed. Yeah, her parents are definitely seem very close to how Fluttershy's parents are portrayed as well. Maybe it's something with Pegasi. Another problem that this episode poses is with Sky himself. Obviously we already talked about how they were content with their friendship. Their friendship was more or less good at the beginning, but really, Vapor helping Sky out without him actually really doing much himself in terms of training just really made him into a giant dick. Very, very cocky person, as we see throughout the beginning of the episode, before he kind of collapses once the truth is let out. But I guess another kind of another issue that gets resolved by the end there, and he's a lot more grateful for Vapor's help, and of course obviously becomes a lot more of a giving person in terms of helping her out with her abilities, rather than just kind of letting her be in his wake. And you kind of see that two-way street in the end too, where at the beginning it's pretty much Vapor is my wing pony, as we see in the beginning in the classroom scene, but by the end they pretty much both call each other their wing pony. With Sky saying you can be my wing pony any day, and she just says you can be mine too, kind of again signifying that two-way street that they've built up by the end of the episode between them. It's just the whole character interaction between Sky and Vapor is just really interesting and well portrayed and developed throughout this episode.
And like Lyra and Bonron, they're just friends.
Just friends.
To be fair,
there was a very friendly tackle hug.
Yeah. Just like like I say, T-Spark and Dashnator are just friends. Speaking of characters, shall we move on to T-Spark?
Hey, if you have something to say about T-Spark, go ahead.
It's interesting that it's rare for me to say this, but I think that in this episode, it's good to see Twilight just having some focus, to be honest, because she hasn't had a huge amount this season, if we're going to be brutally honest here, not compared to previous seasons. And
yeah,
I can understand that. I mean, obviously with Starlight, which is going to get some screen time, and regardless of whether you like her, hate her, in between, whatever, it's just a fact that as time goes on, characters that have been in the show, I mean, another good example, Pinkie Pie hasn't had anywhere near as much time as she has in previous seasons. It's just one of those things that's going to happen when you're going to give other characters. I mean, hell, I think the character that's probably had the most screen time this season in terms of their own episodes is probably Spike. Probably, and the CMC maybe. It's hard to say, but with all these characters vying for attention for having episodes based around them, it's just gonna happen, and you're gonna have to be patient, basically.
Yeah. I mean,
for your character to get an episode.
I'm looking through the episode list here, and there's really not a lot of episodes that are focused mainly on one. Of the main six. Most of the other ones that have been featured have been like two or three of them. Really, the only ones that we have, like Gift of the Maud Pie, was both Rarity and Pinkie. Let's see. Then we have a couple other episodes with other characters, and we go all the way to episode 7 with Newbie Dash, which is pretty much Rainbow Dash episode. So she gets an episode, and then from there it's like Applejack, Rarity episode. Everyone was in this episode. Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash. Pinkie Pie, there's just a lot of dual episodes here. Stranger Than Fan Fiction. Actually, Rainbow Dash has had quite a few this season. Newbie Dash, Stranger Than Fan Fiction.
I think you could also count the one with Fluttershy and her brother.
28 Pranks Later. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's not the right. Oh, I love that. Now I'm thinking of that image of it. It's called My Little Pony, not the Rainbow Dash Show.
That was it. And then that face, oh my god. But so I mean, Twilight really hasn't been the focus of many episodes, but she's still played a substantial part in quite a few. But really, none of the main six has really had any singular episodes focused just on them, besides maybe Rainbow Dash, which is fine because I think.
I like that T-Spark may be the princess of friendship, but she's not always going to have the answers, and she's going to need to rely on her friends. Being the princess of friendship, she's going to have to rely on her friends to also be able to help her.
Yeah, I mean, and that was always made a point right from season 3 and season 4 is that that's all in the season 3 finale. I was part of her main speech is that I'm nothing without what my friends without my friends, and that's why they all have pretty much equal seats at that round table, is because she's the princess of friendship, but really she's nothing without the rest of the group. You can't reveal the magic element without the other 5.
So I have a question. How much did I miss?
Oh, hey.
Oh, hello.
I didn't hear you come in.
I just kind of decided to ninja my way in. I wasn't going to call attention to myself until I had a chance.
We're just in the middle of the character discussion now.
Okay, so I didn't miss too much then. Good.
Just
Yeah,
the story.
we're currently talking about T-Spark.
All right. Yes. So I'm sorry I'm late. What happened was I had set my alarm, but I was a dumbass and I set it for AM instead of PM.
Oops.
Classic.
So yeah.
It's
At least I didn't sleep through the whole thing, unlike that one time. So.
But yeah, that's all I kind of really had to say about T-Spark. I mean, to be fair, she was just as adorable as ever, you know. And like I say, it was just nice to have her on the screen, to be honest. Yeah, I mean,
it was nice seeing her. I mean, not just get excited about it, but being in that like kind of teacher role. Like, oh, I know I learned all about flying now, so I'm excited to teach other people. 'Cause I think that's always been kind of a role that's well suited for her. Is that kind of teacher role.
I do love that when she's talking to and trying to sort of pep up Sky. She goes, you know, I wasn't necessarily good at friendship, but you know, I had to work at it very hard, and eventually, obviously, over time, I became the princess of friendship. And he's going, do you think I'll become the princess of flying? It's like, no, MA Larson no longer writes for the show.
He'll be a guest writer for one episode just to give you the wings.
Just to give you wings.
But no, I really did.
Technically, he already has the wings. He just needs the horn.
Yeah. Excuse me, the horn. Well, maybe he has the horn too. But that's
he certainly has the horn. It's just not listed on top of his head.
But I was just say I really did like that analogy that they used with Twilight in terms of her saying, yeah, I mean, I was never good at really that good at friendship in the beginning anyway. I mean, we've seen that in the beginning episode. We've seen that in some of the other episodes like that have revisited her past. But even though she wasn't that good at friendship, she was still able to learn a lot from her friends and become who she is and be the princess of friendship after that. It was a good analogy for Sky in terms of, maybe if you listen to your friend there and learn from her, you too, even if you don't feel like it now, have the ability to be better.
Princess of flying.
To be the princess of flying. I mean, it's a good message though. So, and it was shown well through that analogy that Twilight gives.
Does that mean the Dashinator can be the princess of termination?
She's the princess of awesome.
The princess of awesome.
That's her official title. Coming season 7. It's already trademarked by Hasbro.
No, hang on. She has to be the 90s princess then, and she has to be dressed just like Dippy Fresh.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Yes, please. I would buy that. I would buy that toy.
I want a Dippy Fresh styled Rainbow Dash now. Call it the Dashinator as well.
Yes.
I just get like the mental image of her wearing like a baseball cap backwards, holding like gold chains around her neck, and just rapping everything she says.
We already got Pinkie Pie.
Yeah.
She dressed up in that 80s style and dropped a sick beat.
Not just in the 80s style, but in 4x3 with scan lines as well.
That was so great. That's like one of the examples of if there's many I can give, but that's like one of the best examples I can give about the amount of effort put into the show. It's just
also,
like
this show is not necessarily just for little kids.
Yeah,
because that's a joke that like older people are gonna get.
What else? What else with the characterization in the episode?
I suppose we need to talk about the Dashinator.
Maybe.
Maybe. I do like. I mean, obviously, some like so with Rainbows, old habits die hard. What with her falling asleep during Twilight thing. I'm sorry, but
some things never change.
No, and God bless her for it. To be fair, but I do. It's funny now that she has become a role model. It is surprisingly how well she fits into that role. I want to say surprising. It's not really surprising at all, really. But it's just nice to see her in that role, and she does such a because if there's one thing that Rainbow seems to be incredibly good at, it's inspiring others. It's something that, if anything, she's more basically the element of inspiration or the element of leadership more than necessarily the element of loyalty. I think she's I mean it's very interesting that I think with Rainbow's confidence, it's something that she's
she can help others with.
She's got a bit, and it's something that she can build other ponies up, and that's and to be fair, that is what she needed to do with Vapor Trail, because she sort of came from pretty much like a blank slate really, because she wasn't like I say, she wasn't unconfident, but she had no self-belief because she had no belief in the first place, sort of thing. It's kind of an odd one there.
This episode was great in that respect, just in terms of Rainbow's past in the series and how we've seen her come. I mean, we're talking about her, being kind of mentoring these other ones, being a role model to them, and that's something we've already seen her get some experience with in terms of taking Scootaloo under her wing and pretty much being her big sister. And even before that, just obviously Scootaloo really looked up to her as a role model. So kind of giving Rainbow Dash that experience throughout the series, it makes sense for her to step into that role here. And be able to impart that confidence and other parts of of her onto others as sort of a role model or teacher in that respect.
Mama had a Dashinator. Mama had a chicken. The husband was proud and he didn't care how. Make that into a show.
I'd probably watch it.
Sounds like something you hear on Spring.
And actually, now that I'm looking at it, going back to the those kind of alternate names for the elements that we had in Magical Mystery Cure, Rainbow's was Devotion, which I think is very fitting for what we're talking about here versus just loyalty. Rainbow was a lot more, I guess, how you say it, like level-headed in this episode as well. Especially when we kind of get to the conflict between her and Twilight in terms of how to handle the situation. I really feel like in previous seasons, a while back, Rainbow would have been a lot more aggressive about getting her way.
She would have also been a little more impulsive too, I think.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have been really more willing to listen. She would have been more like charging ahead, brashfully doing what she wanted. But here she was more willing to actually hold her horses, if you'll pardon the expression, and actually willing to lend an ear and listen and be more of a teammate. Mm-hmm. But then again, I guess that's kind of helping, kind of her Wonderbolts training and experience kind of coming into factor here as well.
I mean, I can almost see her in the past actually being a lot more vocal towards Sky and Vapor in terms of being more kind of what Twilight's role was in this, in terms of actually telling them rather than being more methodical about it and thinking that, hey, no, if I tell them this or reveal the truth to Sky, that his confidence is going to go down. I mean, that was all based on her experience and her intuition as a Wonderbolt, thinking if I was in his shoes and someone told me that, I would lose all the confidence I had. And now that she's a Wonderbolt and has flown with him so many times, she understands how much that having that confidence in you means to your flying ability, and just everything she's gone through over the series in terms of trying to prove herself and fly with the Wonderbolts. I think that's something that, because of that experience, she really understands that Twilight couldn't understand. and just in terms of having to have that confidence in order to feel good about yourself and in order to be able to perform. I still think of all the characters in the show. I do think Dash has gotten the most substantial character development in terms of how far she's come. Her obviously her and Twilight both, but really with Dash, I mean, her personality has changed so much for the better based on her experiences, and we can kind of see that accumulate even more in this episode. And many different ways.
Now that she has a truly awesome name as well.
Oh, I'm never gonna get over those names.
I want someone to redub every single episode previously and rename them from Rainbow Dash and Twilight to T-Spark and Dashinator.
Dashinator is pretty standard, but T-Sparks, that is pure gold. T-Sparks, transform, roll out.
I almost kind of want to hear Tara Strong yell that line.
Friendship Force, transform, roll out.
Almost complete with Unicorn Twilight going to Alicorn Twilight with the standard.
Oh, we've already had that sound one time in the series, so.
Yeah.
I'm just
was in a
thinking
movie, not the actual series. Put it in the series. I kid.
I'm just wondering if we should rename some of the rest of the main six with similar names as T-Spark and Dashinator.
Ajax.
Only if Ajax has like two forward metal legs.
Crazy pink.
Pinkatron.
Shy Flux.
Any other? Let's see.
We get the Apple Devourer.
See, so any other characters or characterization discussion that anyone can think of? I'm trying to think of.
Angel Wings is cute.
I was gonna say I don't know if it's been mentioned, but the Angel Wings has actually been brought forward. Has a what was it? I had the note here, but the Pony Angel, yeah, she's an OC. She was included in the show as part of the Make-A-Wish program, much like Stellar Eclipse from Tradio was.
And and the OC's creator also got to voice the character too.
Yeah. Yep, a young girl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's only a freshman, and I read on her Twitter.
I was gonna say, how about Spitfire? We haven't really discussed Spitfire in the character discussion section here yet.
Likes blowing our whistle.
Blow that whistle, baby. It was nice to see kind of both sides of her portrayal, because Spitfire really does have two sides of her character: her on the job and off the job character. And in earlier seasons, we would always see her off the job character, a lot more relaxed and casual, and then we got her on the job drill sergeant demeanor that we saw in Wonderbolt's Academy, and we see that here as well. Obviously, since we're at the academy there. But we kind of see, both of it. At the beginning of the episode, we see her again more more casual in the locker room. It's kind of nice seeing both of those here.
I'm just wondering, perhaps it should be T Spark, the Dashinator, and Spitty.
Spitty. It can be Spitty Fire, but fire spelled with a Y.
Yes, we're making this show more 90s.
We need more 80s and 90s. Yeah, and this episode kind of confirms, what I've always said in terms of, I know a lot of people back in Wonderworld's Academy were kind of jarred by Spitfire's demeanor in there, because it's the first time we saw her in that role as more of like a as a drill sergeant, because in the past we've only seen her either in off-the-job casual circumstances at parties, or when she's just flying with her teammates there. So this episode kind of nails that point down that she's acting like that because this is Academy. She's the drill sergeant, and that's kind of what her job is and what she does, and she enjoys it.
To be fair, I think she's also got that sideline of being a rapper. She could be called Spitty Scent.
Oh. It's kind of funny. It's just kind of random thought came to mind how pretty much Sky Stinger is almost like old Rainbow Dash in terms of his personality, just without the talent, to back it up. Because all his claims and how he acts throughout the episode is exactly how Rainbow Dash acted in earlier seasons. And she would show concern for she would show concerns for friends and their struggles, but for her herself, it's the Rainbow Dash show, and I'm the coolest. Like I said, the only difference is she actually had a lot of skill to back it up, where obviously Sky doesn't realize that he doesn't have that skill. And that's another thing I really liked about the episode, just like in my mind, was just how the problem sort of manifested. Neither of these two characters were talentless. It's not like Sky really didn't have any talent or Vapor didn't have any talent. It's because of the symbiotic relationship they had, it never allowed either of them to develop the parts of their talent that they needed. Sky was really good at performing tricks, and with Vapor's help, he was only able to get better and better at performing the tricks. But because he thought he was already an ace flyer in terms of his wing power, because of Vapor, he never worked on building that up. He just always thought he was natural at that, when, as Twilight puts quite bluntly later in the episode, he's not a natural at that, and he needs to put that effort in. But he never did, because he never thought he had to, because of Vapor. And for Vapor, she always was a natural at that wing power, but she never ever practiced any sort of tricks or abilities or her skills, because she was just obviously concentrating on helping Sky do that. So I guess really liked how this problem was laid out and how it manifested and resolved.
I think the key thing to say is you saying that they're both not talentless. Well, it's very true that they are. I think the thing is, it's more the case that they are pretty talented, because they wouldn't be in the Wonderbolt trials if they weren't. Yeah.
The problem is each of them, or one of them, was so focused on helping the other one in this one ability that neither of them was well-rounded enough to be in the Wonderbolts. They had the skill. Each of them had their own individual skill, but the whole thing is they just couldn't stand out individually for it, because neither of them would, had put in that effort to do that. And obviously we see that at the end of the episode, when they are actually able to practice and get it, and get that training in, that they were able to impress Spitfire with their abilities and be brought on as Wonderbolt recruits.
it's almost hate to use these terms here, but it's very interesting because the relationship between the two of them is presented as trying to be symbiotic, but it comes across as more parasitic at first. If Skystinger doesn't quite realize it as it is for the time being, because Vapor Trails, she's doing it for Sky's benefit, and she's more focused on helping him than anything. But at the end, they come to realize that, okay, no, we're only just kind of hurting each other, and they actually move on to actually supporting each other and benefiting from both of them working together.
It's a little more symbiotic than that, because what Vapor's getting out of the relationship isn't as in your face as obviously what Sky's getting out of it is very present. But for Vapor, it's being able to help someone, but not getting all the attention that she was getting as a kid.
Yeah,
that she didn't like. She liked Sky getting that attention for her, so she could, have that spotlight taken away from her.
Kind of reminds me of that of Harry Potter, Professor Slughorn. The person who likes to spread out more in the back seat because there's more room, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, like that actually makes more sense, with Vapor being the more parasitic one.
Yeah, I mean, this episode was definitely just really strong in the characters. I mean, especially for just two new characters. Hopefully, we'll see again. Until now, they're just kind of throwaway one-shot characters, but they really put a lot of development into their problem and what the reasoning was in their backstory and their relationship with each other. So it was really nice to see how well the characterization was in this episode. Yeah, sorry everyone. You're not getting any more lightning dust yet. And anytime a Wonderbolts episode comes up, everyone's like, "Oh, lightning dust is good."
I do actually. I do have
Sorry,
to admit, I'm kind of surprised they didn't even mention her. It's like, it's not that I'm, wanting to see her again. Sorry, I'm just more kind of curious. Like, okay, what exactly did happen to her after she was stripped of her lead pony? Was she just simply demoted, or was she just kicked out entirely?
Well, I mean, she was never let in, right? I mean, that was the whole thing. That was the Academy was getting into the Wonderbolts, right? As a recruit. So she wasn't. I mean, she just never. Isn't that she wasn't? She just never wound up getting in the end because she didn't pass her training. I think there's definitely some potential to revisit it, revisit the character there at some point probably.
She's now slumming it in Canterlot. She's now a bum.
That's kind of disheartening.
We're not really to the animation or anything yet,
change.
Waterstar. So no, we've shown it, but we haven't mentioned it yet because we haven't really in that part of the discussion.
To be honest, it would be kind of cool if, like, towards the end of the show, we have like a new Wonderbolts that's sort of headed up by Rainbow Dash, obviously taking over from Spitfire, and she leads perhaps say her, obviously Vapor Trail, Sky Stinger. I'm going to say Angel Wings because I just think she's got a freaking cute OC, to be honest, and Lightning Dust. I think that would be a really cool team to have for the Wonderbolts.
Maybe. I guess, I mean, you could sort of make the argument that maybe she's sulking somewhere and harboring resentment, but she seemed to be pretty she took it pretty well at the end of Wonderbolt's Academy, Lightning Dust. I mean, she kind of walked away and gave that little wing salute. She was very disappointed in herself and the situation, but she never really seemed very angry about it.
It's so Doug.
Oh, that was she was just good at hiding her emotions at the time.
I mean, maybe like I said, I mean, you could definitely kind of write, a backstory into, how she was just harboring resentment all these years, and now she's coming back for revenge. But I don't know, because to me, based on what we have seen in the show so far, it seemed like she was very disappointed in the situation herself, but not angry at Dash. I think she almost kind of, at the end, just maybe realized what had happened in hindsight.
Yeah, I would like to see like Dusty again.
I guess the only other character would be sort of. I mean, we got to see a little cameo from Starlight. I mean, I guess that's cool. It's nice to see she's hanging out with Twilight. It was kind of like the whole thing that I've said the rest of the season, where I mean, yeah, you can kind of stick Starlight in episodes like this and it's fine, but I mean, what's the point? I mean, she didn't even have. I'm surprised. I'm thinking in my head that she had some dialogue at the beginning got cut out because Kelly did actually voice two characters in this episode, which kind of surprised me when I saw that she actually did voice work, and then they didn't have Starlight saying a line.
Voiced before anyway, so that's not too big of a surprise.
Who's Misty? Wait, really? Who's Misty? Oh yeah, the other one. Yeah, the other at the beginning of the episode, right? That Wonderbolt.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. I assumed that was a different Wonderbolt.
Misty Fly was voiced by. Yeah, no, Misty Fly has been voiced by Kelly Sheridan in previous episodes. So,
but I'm assuming they probably had to cut.
She'd have been in the episode.
Well, I mean, they could have stuck another Wonderbolt, in there and had that voice.
To be fair, whenever they have the voice actors in the booth, they're not necessarily always doing the same episode all the time. So.
See. Any other character discussion that anyone here or in chat has that we've missed for any character? I'll wait for the chat to respond, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else. But
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else in the episode. To be honest.
I mean, not necessarily. I think we've just covered everyone, but I guess if anyone had any other additional point they wanted to make of any character.
If it means that Skysting is going to be the princess of flying, does that mean that Derpy's going to be the princess of muffins?
I thought she already was.
Oh. Okay. I say, I think if Celestia wasn't Princess of the Sun, she'd be Princess of Cake.
Why not both?
Well, to be fair, she can only be Princess of the Sun. If you're gonna give Princess of Cake to anyone, you have to give it to Whirl Nelly.
No, that's Princess of Fast Food.
Princess of Hayburgers.
It's the new Princess of McDonald's. They're replacing Ronald.
With Whirl Nelly. I want to see that now.
This is kind of on maybe a little more animation, but I'll say it now just because since I don't have any notes, I'll probably forget. I did like the varied body types of all of the recruits in this episode. We got the little short one that's more like Snips, and we got a taller one that's more like the teenage ones that we've seen this season, or Snails. A lot of different. They're not all homogeneous, just body types. So it was nice to see from all those characters. And they're all new too. So obviously a lot of the Wonderbolts and Wonderbolts Academy were characters we had seen before in the series.
G3 the same model. Shall we? Can I briefly mention about animation since we're kind of talking about it now?
I guess.
I absolutely adore the flying sequence with Sky Stinger and Vapor Trail where it's split screen. It's absolutely superb.
Let's see. Just trying to think, see if there's any characters stuff I've missed. Yeah, I guess again, just Rainbow Dash being so good as in that mentor role on this, especially to Vapor when she's training Vapor. I mean, she obviously was really kind of excited to kind of help her and do the training, with her, and without being really over cocky about herself. Okay, I think we can move on to the voice acting in the episode. So, we had a few more voices in this episode compared to the past few. We got Rona Rees, who was the voice of Vapor Trail. She's done some other acting work, but this is one of the first voice acting roles that she's had. Sky Stinger was voiced by Emmett Hall, which is hilarious enough. Was one of the storyboarders for MLP. He doesn't work on the show anymore, but I believe he's been with the show since the first season as a storyboarder. So he came back here to voice Sky Stinger. And I think he did a really good job as him. Of course, Kelly Mitzer as Spitfire. Alexis Huell as Angel Wings. We've talked about that. Kelly Sheridan voiced Misty Fly as well as Vapor's mom, and Peter Kilmus voiced Vapor's dad. And Matt, you might have to reconnect. You're very. It's so slow. I can't understand you. I think
very slow and robotic.
Do I sound better now?
A little.
Yep. On a complete side note, I think Nick Confalone just confirmed that he's writing for season 7.
Test.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh my god, it's nearly midnight my time. Jesus, I wish I looked at the time.
Yeah, for some reason, a lot of people seem to think Nick's last episode in the show was there, but according to the tweet he just said, it looks like he's writing for season 7. So that's good. Nick had some awesome episodes this season.
Nick Confalone.
Yeah. He just tweeted. He just quoted the press release. 2017 will be the biggest year in history for the My Little Pony franchise. Nick wrote, "Can confirm, though I'd add raddest, best, and dopest." This is why this guy writes the best comedy episodes.
I was just gonna say I hope he has taken notes from this episode, and he does for the whole entire episode have Twilight and Rainbow called T-Spark and Dash now.
Got to do it. It's got to happen now.
If they don't reference it at least once more before the end of the season, I will be very disappointed.
Let's see. Anyway, I've kind of, I guess, saw that in my Twitter feed while I'm trying to look up something else here. Peter Kilmus has voiced a couple things in the past couple seasons. He was the one that voiced Fashion Plate and Big Daddy McColt last season, and then in this season he voiced the infamous Barker in Viva Las Pegasus, which I always thought was the funniest name. But in the stage manager in that as well. So he's done some voice work for the show before. Rona Rees is new. Emmett Hall is new to at least voice acting on the show. I guess I have to say, Emmett did a really good job for not really being a voice actor. He did really well as Sky in the episode.
Kind of reminds me of obviously Big Jim Miller. He's not really a voice actor, but he's obviously done King Sombra, and he also did Troubleshoes.
I forget who tweeted it, but there was one of the other show staff tweeted at him, and we're gonna have season 7 where we're gonna have a big Troubleshoes song number.
Yeah, Tim, that was Tim, wasn't it?
Yeah. To which you responded, "I hate you."
And then I mentioned, I think was it Slack, that we should have a Troubleshoes and Sombra duet.
Duet, yes. Perfect. And Rona Reeves did just great with Vapor's voice as well. Definitely fitting. That how about that cute sneeze? Best sneeze of the season. 10 out of 10.
No, Fluttershy has the best sneezes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Has she even actually sneezed ever? No.
Yes.
Oh.
Even her sneezes are graceful.
Oh yeah. Her sneeze was so bad I forgot about it, I guess.
Hey, at least they're not in the background all the time.
Guys, keep in mind all the writers on the show are freelance, so it's not like they are hired onto the show or anything. That they're hired to do specific episodes, with the exception of the story editor. So you're not like quitting from the show, or just because you don't come back for a season. It's just that you didn't accept any, or weren't offered any episodes to write for that season. Yeah. Tara did well as always with the adorable Twilight. Just her reactions to the classroom portion. Just so great.
Twilight's such a nerd.
Nerd. I also have to applaud Ashley Ball's delivery of T-Sparks and the Dashinator. Fantastic.
So you just can't get more 90s than this. Just have Twilight wearing some baggy pants, some gold chains around Rainbow's neck.
Gosh. Let's move on to humor of the episode. Was there one thing?
I thought you said hammer then.
Hammer.
I was going to say, what we're going to do, hammer time.
MC Hammer. Joining the main 6.
And I'll hit it with the hammer. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Hey, as long as it's not as bad as the blooming theme song to Hammer Man. Which literally explains the plot of every episode in the theme song.
Brilliant. Obviously, we've kind of already commented on all of Twilight's hilarious reactions throughout it, just being completely adorable to just how excited she is to be able to teach.
The excitement of Twilight to Classroom is diametrically opposed to Rainbow Dash having to listen to Twilight Teacher.
I think one of my favorite things humor-wise about the episode is the joke that they kind of build up for the end. Of course, we see Angel Wings come in and say, you two are my favorite ponies, talking to Rainbow and Twilight. And then at the end of the episode, she says that same thing to Sky and Vapor, to which it cuts to Rainbow Dash with this really angry-looking face pointing at, I heard that. That was such great line delivery from that, and the animation there as well really made that joke work.
Yes, what I really love with Angel Wings is not only did the the young lady do such a great job with the villains. They actually gave us some really good lines as well. So
Yeah. And it's funny when Rainbow Dash is saying that, both Spitfire and Twilight are just kind of smiling, just kind of smiling and laughing internally at Rainbow Dash's reaction to that.
Say, I love the facial expressions that both Twilight and Rainbow made when, like, Vapor's like, "You're not as good as you think, Sky." And, like, Twilight just kind of got that crazy sort of giddy look on her face, and Rainbow Dash is practically consuming her own hooves.
And that's actually something I forgot to mention about in the story portion. I really liked how that was kind of brought out. Obviously it was Twilight's plan all along to just kind of tell them, and Rainbow Dash didn't want to do that. But in the end, they didn't really. You know, they confronted Vapor, but they decided it was best, because Vapor didn't want to do Twilight's way. Best to do Rainbow Dash's way and kind of subtly do it and have them, you know, both help them out without telling Sky. But in the end, it was Vapor who came out and actually told Sky that you're not as good as you think you are, just because of just how cocky you started being and how much he didn't want to practice because of it. I just liked how it was her that told him that, and it wasn't just like Twilight bursting out and saying it.
I'm gonna have to head off here, guys.
Oh, okay. Have a
Later,
good
Matt.
night, Matt.
Take care, everyone.
Ciao. Trying to find an image here. It's got to scroll through here, and eventually I'll find it.
And Draconic was media posting in the chat here, where it was like pictures of the Wonderbolts in the classroom. All of them have their noses raised up in quiet dignity, except for Rainbow Dash's portrait, where she's got like this huge ass grin on her face.
There it is. This is the most random kind of use of this poster style that I've seen, but it made me laugh. If we ever lived in a dystopian future that Rainbow Dash was the evil tyrannical leader, that's the poster that would be hung up everywhere. Let's see. We've already kind of mentioned the other kind of setup joke that was set up in the beginning, with Rainbow Dash constantly being pulled back to the academy after getting away, and how that kind of pays off at the end, where she's called back again to another issue there after they just get back.
I'm almost kind of curious what that Wonderbolt's emergency was, where like Rainbow Dash had to get called back that second time.
I can't tell if it's actually an emergency or if Misty Fly is just totally trolling her.
Maybe something happened. Maybe Spitfire's wings fell off. I mean, they did have that introduction. Like, Spitfire's like, well, you fly so much will your wings fall off? That's only happened once.
That was another very subtle joke. I really liked that one. And then of course, what's her name's reaction to it?
Angel Wings.
Angel Wings, like,
yeah.
Maybe Rainbow Dash is the one whose wings fall off.
You know, I'm kind of curious. Maybe they were like sort of referring to the time when Rarity had those temporary wings back in season 1. It may be a subtle reference to that.
You know, it could be. I didn't even think about that, because Spitfire was there for that. Although I think she specifically was referring to the Wonderbolt's training, but
yeah, and it, like I said, it could be either way. I'm assuming it might be a reference, but it's never made clear. So,
I really liked how one thing I noticed, kind of a subtle thing, is when Twilight is kind of having that very dorky moment, reacting to the classroom portion. After it cuts back to the full shot of all three of them, Rainbow Dash, Twilight, and Spitfire. Spitfire kind of pushes her away because she's gotten very close to her. He's like, "Yeah, back off." Personal space, Twilight.
Loved how when Rainbow Dash brings the air horn, the first use of the air horn was that Twilight's eyes went completely googly. But then, like, right when Twilight begins her lecture, Rainbow's like asleep in seconds, and Twilight just uses it like right off there. Then later on, when she's actually trying to teach Sky Stinger by himself, he's sitting there, he's sleeping, but he's wearing that mask.
It's super. At first in the episode, I didn't even realize he was wearing a mask until he took it off. I'm like, oh god, that was so well done.
It's kind of funny because when I was watching over the episode myself yesterday, since I didn't get a chance to catch it with you guys last Saturday, when I first noticed it, I immediately spotted it as a mask. And I still laughed because I thought it was pretty clever. Then I love how, like, Rainbow Dash gives Vapor and Sting a choice to either stay mad at each other or help each other become Wonder Bolts. And she's like, please pick the second option. I don't want Spitfire to be mad at me.
You know, another little bit of continuity that just reminded me of that I forgot is that I'm nice to see that Joe and Christine picked up on and put in there. Or someone made a note of it and they put in there was Spitfire still calling Dash Crash at the end there. Of course, reference to calling her Crash from the previous episode this season.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm both kind of upset and both kind of relieved at the same time Rainbow Dash didn't specifically use the kiss and makeup line. If only because of the fact that I kind of would have half expected a Vapor Trail to just suddenly start making out with Sky. Almost immediately.
Just take that screenshot and he's like, you two are now my OTP. With the animation and the visuals, Matt mentioned this earlier, but it's worth mentioning again. Is that whole final trial scene where both Sky and Vapor are training there, and they kind of come together and they have that split screen throughout it. But then how at the end, how they're both flying in the split screen, and then the split screen as they fly towards each other comes together in the end as one screen as they meet face to face. It was just very beautiful, just in terms of just the staging and the kind of the meaning behind it, because it kind of has that kind of hidden meaning of them two finally, coming back together and working together again. And just visually, the animation there with that split screen was really well done. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. If you want to keep talking about the humor and the animation. 1 second.
Say, to be perfectly honest, I really can't think much of else that was already part of the humor. Say, we did have what was it? I've already mentioned the pictures on the wall, and we had. I guess part of the humor was just Sky acting pretty much kind of like a pompous jerk, and just sort of, it wasn't so much humorous, but kind of like more relatable to life in the sense that, hey, yeah, I've known people like that. Just kind of gratifying to see him try to show off without Vapor, and then be like, okay, No, it turns out that he can't do that. So it is kind of amusing to watch him fail. But to be perfectly honest, I really can't think of much else of humor that we haven't already been over.
You didn't either.
Yeah. Yeah, I will admit it was very satisfying to see this guy actually crash out. In a way, it was kind of, I don't know, it was also very realistic in the sense that after he had his attitude wiped away, it was that confidence also got eliminated in the sense that when he got flung out of the Disitron, he didn't even bother trying to even pull himself out of that spin, and he just let himself crash.
I'm back. Sorry, my dinner arrived.
All right, no problem.
Food is good. Eat food.
I'm so good, I failed the basic training. I don't need to practice because I'm so wonderful.
Let's see. So, anything else for humor or animation that anyone has?
In terms of humor, I can't think of anything, but it was mentioned in animation that we did get some more views of the Wonderbolt Mountain, and then we got, the actual flight animation. Flight animation looked really good. Lecture Hall was pretty good too.
I still like the trails that each of them kind of leaves behind him. Like Rainbow Dash leaves the rainbow, obviously, but Sky kind of had his own little bolt kind of trail behind him when he flew, matching his color scheme.
Say, didn't even Angel Wings have her own like little trail behind her as well? That sort of custom Hankin sort of cream colored trail that when she rocketed off, you could kind of see it trailing behind her slightly.
Probably. I think they all did, yeah.
But say, I always liked having seeing the different ones myself, and I can't help but notice that in this one it seems like they all have their own unique ones. Where it was like back in the earlier seasons, it was only Rainbow Dash that had her own unique custom rainbow trail behind her.
Yeah, it's probably something they can do more now than they could back then. Let's see. Okay, we can probably move on. If I can stop things from randomly popping up here. There we go. Okay, so I believe the next thing we have here is the score. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so score, backing music. So had quite a bit of score this episode, especially compared to the last few episodes. Which really isn't surprising, being that this is both a Wonderbolts episode and a map episode. So we have the motifs that we usually hear in both of those episodes appearing in this episode. So we start off. And also just more montages. The season of montages continue. So we start off at the beginning with Rainbow at the academy. So when we start the episode, we have the Wonderbolts March, which is one of the, I think, 3 main Wonderbolts themes that we normally hear. And this one was first heard back in Wonderbolts Academy. Most of the current Wonderbolts music was first used in Wonderbolts Academy. So this was kind of like the Academy theme. The Wonderbolts March is kind of like the theme for the Academy. So we hear that a lot in the Academy episodes. From that, we hear once Rainbow Dash's cutie mark begins to glow, we hear the Call of the Cutie motif, which is what we hear in all of the map episodes that have this scene, and not all the episodes feature it, because some of the map episodes, like for example the last map episode, Viva Las Pegasus, are a little bit more quick to getting to the point, where they're already at the map, and we kind of jump cut to the location. This one we actually start out with Rainbow Dash somewhere else, and then having the Cutie Mark call her somewhere, like we did in the original map episodes. So you hear the Cutie Mark Call You Cutie map motif as well in the second half of this one, and that was all the way back in the first part of season 5, episode 1, when the map first appeared, was when this theme first appeared. Oops, I'm playing the wrong thing here. Let me. There it is. So this is that march. And then in that second half, that was the Call of the Cutie map motif there. So then we get to the academy in the next scene. So a lot of the episodes, especially the earlier map episodes, would have a track where they're traveling to the location. But this one and Viva Las Pegasus, we don't get that. We just kind of are instantly there. And a jump cut the last episode, and this one we're just there after the opener. So as we get into the academy, this episode starts off with a cue that we heard first in the previous Wonderbolts episode of the season, Newbie Dash. It was used at also at the beginning of that episode for that, and then this is then replaced when we get to start Spitfire and her giving to the speech to the new recruits. We get the same music that she was given when she was giving the speech to Rainbow Dash and those recruits at the academy there, which is kind of a little more deliberate march here in this track. I hope if I brought this closer. There we go. They mix a little bit of the Wonderbolt, one of the other Wonderbolts themes in there. I really like how Spitfire uses the same exact speech that she gave in the Wonderbolts Academy when Rainbow Dash was there. Same exact theme, or same exact speech. So next thing we get is when Twilight and Rainbow Dash are saying hi to Spitfire when they first arrive. Rainbow Dash mentions that to Spitfire that she and Twilight are there on official friendship business. As she says this, we get a little one of the kind of alternate versions of the magic of friendship motif that's been used throughout the series since season 3. When Spitfire begins talking after that, we return to her march that we heard in that previous track. So there's the magic of friendship motif there. Oops. Stop. Go back. Okay, so then we get to the this next one here is we get to the classroom scene. Got a little bit of excitable cues for the adorable Twilight moment at the beginning. And then Sky Stinger begins to talk. He brings with him kind of this very bouncy, very pompous sounding theme for him. And near the end of the track here, when he's talking about his picture going up on the Wonderbolt's photo wall, we get this very sarcastic sounding version of the Wonderbolt's one of the Wonderbolt's themes. With that, I believe it's the fanfare here. So that's probably my favorite part about this track that I wanted to point out is just kind of that sarcastic version of the Wonderbolt's theme at the end when he's talking. There was the sarcastic version of their Wonderbolt's theme there. Let's see, so... I keep accidentally clicking on that. Shoot. I hate when you're trying to click on something on a web page, and then something loads above where you're clicking and pushes the whole thing down, and you end up clicking on the wrong thing.
That's happened to me several times. I hate it when that happens.
Let's see, trying to figure out what's the next track here to talk about. Let's see. In this next one here, we get that. This also uses the cue that we heard in Return to the Academy at the beginning of the episode when Rainbow and Twilight were first arriving at the Academy. See, we'll move on to the next track here. This is when Twilight and Rainbow Dash are confronting Vapor Trail in... actually, it starts a little bit before that. It's first when Sky and Vapor are talking, and then when Vapor goes to the locker room and is confronted by Twilight and Rainbow there, just before her flashback here. So we get her more subdued and emotional sounding score. Her kind of... She doesn't really have like a set motif, but her style of music is a lot more subdued and emotional and quiet compared to obviously Sky Stingers, who had that very bouncy kind of sarcastic sounding theme earlier in the classroom there. have a nice little part there at the end as we go into the flashback there. And the score becomes more and more kind of emotional as the flashback ends, as we get to the end of this next track here. Okay, and from there we reach probably the biggest track of the episode, which is from the training montage. So like I said earlier, season has really become the season of montage. I think we had more montages this season than any other season in the past. We just had one just a few weeks ago, and I think it was Every Little Thing She Does. One of those episodes a few weeks ago just had one, and we've had so many different ones, and in the Changeling episode, and Derby Racers had one that had the instrumental for the song. We had one in... we had another one in Spice Up Your Life, which was, again, the instrumental for the song. We had one in Applejack's Day Off, which had probably my favorite one of the season. That was a really good sounding one. And a few others too. So there's been a boat ton, and here we go with the last regular episode of the season here, and we got one more montage. And personally, I like montages because it really allows them a little more freedom with the score. Because I mean, instead of like trying to fit the score around a scene and the dialogue, and where most of the time the score, whatever nice piece of sounding score that you're writing, is going to be cut very suddenly by some dialogue or a scene change. A montage allows you to have like pretty much a minute or so of just like one score. It's not like a minute long track or 2 minute long track with a couple different, 3, 4, 5 cues in it. It's one complete song. It gives William Anderson and Kelly Davidson a lot more freedom to really kind of show what they can do. So it's great having another one here, and of course it's a Wonderbolts episode. So we're having a nice little training montage in here. And this one actually kind of has two. It has this one, the actual montage, and then it has not really a montage, but the final trial scene later that has also a different electric guitar track. It's great hearing more electric guitar in the series. It's not something you hear a lot in the series, just because of the tone that it's developed after the first couple of seasons. So when you have a moment like this where it's very appropriate to have it, it's nice to hear it. And this one, and especially the next one, definitely kind of scream of that the Top Gun kind of vibe in terms of having that very strong lead guitar and some orchestral string backing to it as well, which, given the context of the episode and the name of the episode, is very fitting. So So we get that. This one does a great job of syncing up with the actions on screen in the montage, and builds up very nicely as the scene progresses, leading up to the very triumphant finish to signify how far Vapor Trail has come in her special training here. So without further ado, here's the 1 minute 11 montage track. really, electric guitar and strings are some of my favorite instrumentation combinations. Just because it's something that really shouldn't work together. Like, you're thinking, like, here you have strings, which are normal, a lot more orchestral kind of an instrument that you hear, movie scores or classical music. And then you have guitar, electric guitars more specifically, which you associate a lot more to rock and stuff a lot different than strings. And so I like things like songs like this where we're going to combine the two with that lead guitar with the more orchestral string backing to it. It just leads to, when it's done well like here, it just leads to a really fun sound that I know personally I just really like. And it's fun to hear that here and then in the later track as well. Let's see. So, let's see what the next track is here. Let's see. This is the next one is when Vapor admits to Sky kind of what she's been doing. Let's see. So the next one here is let's see. This is where Twilight and Rainbow are both confronting Sky and Vapor, and kind of giving them the hard truths that they need to hear to make up with each other and become better flyers. This is another really good example of kind of utilizing motifs that we've had in the series in a very context-appropriate situation. So it isn't just reusing a motif to make it easier so you don't have to write something new or anything like that here. I mean, it's used very well in the context. So in this scene, it begins with Twilight talking to Sky and saying that, no, Sky, you are not a natural at this, and you need to work. But then Twilight starts talking about her past struggles with friendships and how she overcame them to become the Princess of Friendship. When Manson utilizes the Princess Twilight Sparkle motif that we first heard in Season 4's premiere, Princess Twilight Sparkle, as well as the Season 4 finale. And we've heard for her ever since then, ever since she's become a princess, kind of as her princessy motif. So that's utilized here as she's talking about that, which is very fitting. And then we fast forward then to Rainbow talking to Vapor after that. There's this really lovely cue that I know I'd heard before. After 6 seasons and like countless tracks of stuff, there's always stuff every episode that I know we've heard before, but I can't pinpoint exactly where it was, and it's hard to do. This one took me a while to find because I knew we heard it before, and I thought it was pretty recently. But I actually had to go through all the score all the way back to Season 3 before I was actually able to find where this was used. It's been used once before. It was used back in Season 3's episode Spike at Your Service, and it was used during the part where Spike was kind of talking to the distracted Twilight, who was reading and telling her that, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be able to be your faithful assistant anymore because I got to go help and be Applejack's assistant. And, when Twilight's just completely distracted. So it's used to kind of emotionally back Spike in that scene. So it makes a reappearance here in this after 3 seasons. But first, here's Princess Twilight Sparkle's theme coming up. And that was that other theme from that season 3 episode there. Okay, we'll try to get through the rest of these 3 here very quickly. Taking a while, but this episode had 15 tracks to kind of me to get through here, so the most we've had in a while. Like I said, there's a lot of music in this episode. So finally, we get to the first part of the trial scene. This first track from the first part of the scene is utilizes kind of like some of the Wonderbolts marches that we hear in a lot of like their aerial relay scenes and stuff like that. It adds a few more flourishes on top of it for what's happening in the scene as well. So we've heard music like that in different forms for like the aerial relay in Rainbow Falls, and I believe we might have heard it again in Equestria games, I think maybe. But we hear that a lot for these kind of like fast-paced flying scenes. I think we probably heard it in Wonderbolts Academy as well, when they're doing some sort of contest that involves flying fast through the air. From that, we arrive at the second electric guitar-filled score for the episode. This one's for the actual final individual flying test. The one that has all the split screens. Excuse me, the one that has all the split screens in it for that. So here we have another electric guitar one. This one has a little more acoustic guitar in it. Has the orchestral in it. And it has a little bit of glockenspiel at the end, some chimes at the end for that make it sound a lot more like it kind of drifts into sounding more like an MOP standard track where we have the keyboard violins and the glockenspiel at the end there, which kind of gives it a little more emotional ending to it. So this one's great. It also reminds me a lot of the themes from Top Gun as well, with that lead electric guitar here. And adds more of those kind of orchestral flourishes with even some like harp and stuff like that at the end there for some of some of them flying past. So finally here we get to the final track here, which leads us to the end of the episode. The main significant thing about this track is it gives us the map, the mission complete kind of motif that we have in every single map episode. Some of the other themes aren't always in the episode, depending on how the episode plays out at the beginning. But this is a motif that is in every episode, every map episode, all the way back to season 5 at the end, and it's played when their cutie marks flash at the end, signifying that the friendship problem has been solved. So we've heard that in all the map episodes, and we heard it also in the Gabby episode with the CMC when they were doing the flashback to a previous map episode. We heard it there as well when their cutie marks were flashing there. So you hear that near the beginning of this trek. I believe it's right here. And we kind of will take us to the end of the episode there, but that was the main thing to point out there. So it's nice having like little things, just like how in season 4 we had the key motif that was in all the key episodes. For the map episodes, we've gotten quite a few themes that are used throughout those to kind of tie all those episodes together musically. And that's one of the things that I really like about the series is we do have a lot of these motifs and themes that are used quite often to tie different moments or characters or situations or locations together in different episodes. And so that's all the music from that, or at least all the ones that had something very substantial to point out in them from all those 15 tracks. So let's kind of running towards the end here. That went on quite a while. So what does everyone think about the theme and the moral of the episode?
Let's see what we got here. What did I have? The one time I actually had the damn tab closed. Alright, here we are. So having a friend with a skill handicap is good and all for their self-esteem, but if the help is made in secret and doesn't change from promoting confidence to actually giving them the skills needed to independently overcome their handicap, it becomes a shackle of overdependency that weighs them both down together with adverse side effects such as overconfidence, underperformance, and overexertion to pick up the other's slack, which invites disaster in a moment where both friends to have them stand on their own without the other to support them. Also, don't be a dick.
Especially to the person that's been trying to help you. Yeah, I mean, pretty much what Mr. Ben said. It's there's a lot of times where you might think you're being helpful, but really in the grand scheme of things, you're hurting someone by helping them in that particular way, and not giving them the opportunity or the knowledge that they need to actually, try harder themselves. Yeah, I think that Tim put it pretty much the best way in the chat there. Like I said earlier, the friendship is a two-way street, and you really got to help each other out. It can't just be one way. I mean, obviously they both were really good friends before this. They liked where they were, but at the same time, it was harmful for them that it was just kind of that one-way helping street with Scott, with Vapor helping Sky. So where'd you go? There it is. Favorite parts and any concerns for the episode?
Say, love the facial expressions on some of these characters. As far as like favorite parts go, I guess just the relationship between Sky Stinger and Vapor Trail. Just ship them so hard.
Cross-country shipping.
Yeah.
Overnight. Yeah, I mean, really, I think my absolute favorite about it is just the whole conflict and the whole friendship problem and how it was set up and how kind of complex it nuanced it is, where we're going here and it wasn't immediately obvious that these two were the ones that had the friendship problem because they seemed to be getting along really well. So it was very nice. It was set up very well for both of their characters in terms of what their skills are, what their pasts were, and what their relationship was and how that was built, and then kind of leading into their situation now and how the situation now was going to hurt what they had become, and then kind of going through and showing us how they needed to solve it. It was just really well laid out. It was well paced. Joanne and Christine just did a fantastic job at writing that problem, and giving us one of the best, I think, one of the best map episodes that we've gotten so far. Final thoughts, overall feelings, conclusions.
Well, it's still a nice episode. Nice to see Rainbow Dash and Twilight actually working together to solve a friendship problem.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think we've actually seen the two of them team up to tackle something like that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we've had other. I mean, we had like testing 1, 2, 3, which was Rainbow and Twilight and some other things. But yeah, I mean, we haven't seen them in this capacity. And I think that was another thing I forgot to mention in terms of favorite. Something I also really liked about this episode was just Rainbow Dash's portrayal in it, and kind of how much she's grown and how she's now helping these other characters out and being sort of like a mentor. She still keeps her little cocky personality sometimes, but it's just like something where you definitely couldn't see her acting the way she did in this episode in earlier seasons. And it's nice to see her, being so successful in the Wonderbolts. I mean, she's lived her dream, but and she's living her dream now and accomplished that. And it's really nice to see her now taking that next step in that dream. She doesn't have to prove herself anymore. She can just go out there and be a Wonderbolt and help others. Any other final thoughts?
I really can't think of anything.
Well, with that, kind of coming up to a couple minutes here before we got to sign off. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this week's Triple E. Can't believe it already, but we've gone through 24 episodes, and we are down to the final 2, which will be premiering here in the U.S. This Saturday at 11 a.m., keep in mind, it's a 2-parter, so if you haven't seen it yet, 11 a.m. is when it's going to start, not 11:30, 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So we'll be watching that this weekend, and I can't believe that the season is almost over, because it literally feels like the last season just ended. It's gone by way too quickly, but at least now we're confirmed that Season 7 is happening, and it's happening in the spring, just like the past 2, so it hopefully is not going to be that long of a hiatus, and we got that. We got all this new Equestria Girls, 3 Equestria Girls specials to look forward to next year, as well as the movie. So at the very least, it's ending, but we got a lot to look forward to this coming year. So, of course, we'll be discussing that 2-parter finale next week. Like I said at the beginning, if you missed it, we will be doing next week's Triple E on Wednesday, not Tuesday. We'll be doing it Wednesday at 5 p.m. So we'll have a lot to talk about there, obviously, with the finale. So if you watched it early, I haven't. I'm waiting to watch it live here on Saturday. But if you watched it early, you'll finally be able to kind of blurt out everything you think about it. Come next Wednesday then for that. And then after that, the following Wednesday, again, we're moving the following weeks also to Wednesday from Tuesday. We'll be recapping all of Season 6. We'll kind of be, saying what we think about the last half of it, what we think about it as a whole. We'll be opening it up to questions that everyone wants to pose about everyone's opinions on the season. And we'll kind of just wrap it up with a nice big bow. And then we'll get to Legends of Everfree the next week after that. And then we should have everything ready to go for that by then. So, yep, it's been a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining us for Triple E tonight.